As you can see, mortal beasts and deities are very tall people. They perform at parades, shows, music festivals, anywhere folks are having fun. This is their leader, Mark Alexander, feeding pigeons in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And this cottage in Falls Village is where he lives.
Welcome to my place here. It's a mess. There are, throughout this cottage, there are 40 feet, running feet of clothing racks with costume on them. And so I kind of have to dodge things all the time. That's where Greta stays most of the time. Next to the stove.
What a beautiful dog.
Yep, she is. This past winter, I made 5 new costumes. And these hats I found in a consignment shop, thrift store. And here's another one. And I've been collecting hat pins. These are, I don't know where they're from, the 40s or something. And there's another one over there in the window. I just think that they are just so bizarre. A lot of fun. So I made 3 women's evening gowns to go with them. And I'll show you one of them here. Very often, almost always in fact, I start with something that comes from like the Bargain Barn or whatever and adapt them. And in this case, I added these triangular satin bits and a weighted hem. This is called a stilt dancer's spin dress now. It used to be just pretty much straight down. And it's intended to go with one of these hats. I have to figure out how to use hat pins. And can you see it?
No, I can't.
Yeah, hat pins.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to fit anyone's head into those hats. You know, they sort of stay on top and you have to pin them on. And we'll have to figure that out when the time comes. This is a rolling rack. I get a chuckle out of it because it's one of those racks that came from like the garment district in New York. When I was a kid, I can remember seeing these guys rushing up the sidewalks with these racks filled with suits or dresses or whatever. And that's what this is actually. And it often goes with us to shows. But more often here it's where I stage things. This is, I made another one of these, but it's in Boston at the moment. But this is my, we call them petticoats and bloomers. It's a white line, and you can go on my website and you can see us doing the can-can dance down 6th Avenue in New York in this costume line. I feel like I'm wandering. Anyway, I was at a consignment shop with my mother in Florida this past winter. And I didn't even really want to go into that consignment shop because it always was boring in the past. But my mom wanted to go, and so, okay, Mom. We went in there and I immediately saw this, which fits perfectly into my white costume petticoats and bloomers line. And when the lady at the register was checking out, she got totally flustered. And she said, I don't even have a bag to put that in. It's too big. So I said, it's okay, I don't need a bag. And my mom turns to me, she's 93, she said, what are you going to do, wear it out? And so anyway, I get these chuckles. These are all, actually, these, I have several of these that I've made that puff out little dresses and things. And they go with I don't know if you can see, these are the stilt pants. Bloomers, like that. And I'm running out of space, so my temporary moving rack is sort of more permanent these days.
Yeah.
All of this right here, there's 70 some odd pairs of stilt pants. Here's a pair that I actually made this past winter. I have, to show you how this work, you can't just go to Kmart and buy things like this.
Really?
That's a pair of stilt pants, and they go with a dress. I don't even know where that is. Oh, I do know where that is. It's right here. It is also a spin dress with a weighted hem. I have a line of these. There's one, there's another one. And they are all based on this inserting triangles in the dresses, so that when the stilt dancers go like this, it's really kind of fun, actually. The good stilt dancers can get them really moving. And most of our stilt dancers are really good, so. I've pretty much retired from actually doing a whole lot of stilt dancing myself, just because my knees are so bad. And it's just uncomfortable, and I would hate to have my knee give out while I'm up on stilts. It could hurt someone. So I'm pretty much retired. But I do have about 25 or 30 people that I bring in to do performances all over the place. Can I show you some pictures? I don't know how that would work.
Sure.
But this is one of my favorite pictures of us stilt dancing. This is a festival called Honk Festival in Somerville. That's Davis Square in Somerville. There's a lot of stilt dancers there. Take a look up there. I want to show you something if you can see it. I don't know if you can get a shot of that. But that's two musical instruments for what we call our stilt band. It hasn't been out in a while. But this is David Sharp, one of my long-term stilt dancers. He's playing the drum kit right there. It's hanging up in the ceiling. Bring you in here. Now I'll turn on some light. This is where I sew stuff. There's a sewing machine. This sewing machine is almost as old as I am. I can remember when my grandmother bought it. She used to make wedding gowns and things like that. And she's been gone for a long time, and I've inherited it. It's a great old machine. It's a Pfaff. And this is a serger. And that has made things so much easier. It does seams like you might see in the bottom of a t-shirt. It's an overlock, so that it actually runs all four of those spools at once, and they bind things together. And these machines stay here, and now I spend a few months every winter in Florida and helping my mom, and I have a set of machines like this that live in Florida, so I don't have to travel with them. I'm really grateful for so many family members and friends who have helped me and my troupe. And one great example is that this serger was given to me by a local woman who realized I had a need, and I'm really grateful. Up here, these guys are the flock of doves and hawk, and they really are the signature pieces with my troupe. They've been busy for a long time. Hawk is
Did you make those?
oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. I can show you actually. This one's name is Deshawn. I frequently name things just because it's nicer, I guess, I don't know, but just to identify them. Deshawn is the name of the stilt dancer that debuted this puppet. And this one's Jason, and this one's the old original. I played in that one. These are olive branches. And the way that this works is underneath here is an old construction helmet with an adjustable strap and then a chin strap. So when you put this on, it to open it up. You put this on like this, and the puppeteer on stilts can actually see through here. The bodies of these have a wingspan of about 10 feet. This is fun. This is Rude Rooster. And he's actually not a stilted puppet. If you can follow me, I'll show you. He wears a Brooks Brothers pinstripe business suit. And he wears wingtip shoes and of course spurs. What rooster's going out without spurs? I think in terms of puppets, while the flock of doves and the hawk that we saw in the other room are really the signature piece of the whole troupe. You know, that's what people remember, I guess. And I don't know if you've tennis ball on the floor, Greta. All of these have different roles that they have played. And this one is Raven. In fact, he's the most recent one that I made, but he's also on stilts, and his body is enormous. Probably weighs 40 pounds or more.
Did you make all these?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They're and every one of them is paper mache based. Actually, I'll make a spiel. They're made with what's called a synthetic wheat paste, because if you used regular wheat paste, the bugs would get at them. But this is a synthetic wheat paste, and I learned about this when I was an art teacher, so I have gone through a lot of it. Would you like a quick tour of the characters?
Definitely.
They are all characters. This right here is Satyr. He was made, maybe I can find it. There's an enormous salon painting at the Clark Art Museum in Williamstown. And I'm going to bring this out, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. It's by a French painter named Bourgeois. I'm probably not pronouncing that properly. Anyway, the story here is that these nymphs were all the time getting hit on by the satyr. He was kind of a randy fellow. And then one of them figured out, Phoebe figured out, that he didn't know how to swim. So They frolicked all about and waited for him to notice, and they lured him over next to the pond. There were 4 of them. They grabbed a hold of him and tossed him in the pond. So anyway, that is Seder. And he's not on stilts, by the way. Not all of them are. This guy here is Lion, and he also not performed on stilts, but he is the oldest puppet in here. I made him in 1996. And then, of course, later on I was teaching in Sharon Center School, and
Teaching art?
I was an art teacher, yeah. And I made lamb because I like the contrast lion and lamb. There's Mona Lisa and Leonardo da Vinci. They're a lot of fun as well. Again, those are not performed on stilts. What else is up there? Oh, there's an old man and old woman oracle. They're older than dirt. They just, again, they're not on stilts, and it takes them 20 minutes to get across the floor. And they carry staff like this, and on the staff is a little satchel, and inside the satchel are little missives. You can roam around with people and interact, and it's always this one-on-one interaction. And then they reach into the bag and pull out a missive that, here we are. There was an adult party we went to once, and we changed all of the missives that were really quite innocent. Here's a couple. Let me see. Always make your chocolate chip cookies from scratch. Paint with your hands. Claim your strengths. Dance like a child. Be a good person. They're all no-brainer stuff. Be brave, that's a good one. That one there is Archangel Gabriel, and that's Joseph, and that's Mary, although they are wearing carnival masks here, which is it's an interesting story. I was commissioned by a church in New Jersey to create these giant puppets that the congregation could actually perform. So I went down there every Sunday in end of November and December to train and practice and rehearse to get these members of the congregation able to perform these giant puppets. Now these are really tall, really big, but rather than putting them on stilts, I attached backpack frames, and then my dear friend Willie Blass, Falls Village, great kid.
Yeah.
Actually, he was when I first met him, a great kid. I taught him, actually. But now he runs Battle Hill Forge, right. Which, actually, I'm not so sure it's called that anymore. Anyway, he's in Falls Village. Anybody in Falls Village would know who Willie Blass is. Sure. He welded together these aluminum frames that went way up so that the top of Archangel Gabriel's head is about 10 or 11 feet high. And the people are wearing these things, and the gowns cover them up. This is a picture of Archangel Gabriel. You see his wings there? Mary and Joseph are off that way, the other side of the altar. Big. See, this is the priest. Oh, here's an interesting thing. This priest, really lovely guy. And I flew this idea by him. I said, look, if I'm going to make the Holy Family, I would rather have them not look like your regular old long-haired bearded white guy, because historically that is not really, you know, that's an image to make white people feel comfortable, I think. And I don't mean to, you know, if that's your image, then that's fine. But I wanted it to be more historically accurate.
Middle
And
Eastern.
he said, yeah, brown-skinned people, you know, and this priest is a black man with blue eyes, and he said, you know what, people's ideas, their own sensibilities, and what they are comfortable with is what we really ought to aim for. So anyway, the stilts that we normally perform on, they actually are just a little bit less than 3 feet tall. The bottom of your foot to the ground is a little less than 3 feet tall.
I can stay in the same place if you want to. Oh, walk around? Oh. Oh, you're taking off it.
But these stilts are even bigger. That's 6 feet to the ground. I am in the process of actually making another pair of these. I'm searching for, this is old growth spruce, and it has to be perfect with no knots. That's why the old growth, because it's big enough so that you don't have little branches going out, which would cause a weakness that could be dangerous. So I still haven't found enough wood long enough to actually make a second pair, but that's on my agenda for this summer. These right here are hand stilts that you might have seen. Maybe your family had a set when you were a kid. One of the things that's pretty much a solid rule is that I like to be able to look into my stilting students' eyes and see that they are understanding what I am saying. And there's this magic time that happens when they're about 5th grade or 10 years old or so, where they take it seriously enough to actually communicate with their eyes back again. And when I'm teaching some youngster, or even an adult, how to walk on stilts, and I have taught somewhere around 400 of them over the years, I need to be able to know when I'm looking at them that they understand what I'm saying, for their safety, but also mine, you know? And so stilt lessons with me start at 10 years old. You asked me how I got started with all of this. My father was always very creative. My mom too. We were always encouraged to be creative. They thought I should become an electrician or an engineer or something that would be more stable. And frankly, they weren't wrong. But I went to art school instead. And studied drawing and painting and design and sculpture and photography I fancied myself an artist. Then I ended up actually having a lot of supportive careers just to make ends meet, because, you know, I ended up with family and all of that kind of stuff, and doing art, unless you are extraordinarily fortunate, doesn't make much money, and you still have to pay bills. So I've done a lot of different things. And I came back. I lived in Gloucester, Massachusetts for a long time. In fact, that's where my boys were born. And I came back home to the northwest corner of Connecticut in 1989, I think that was, and sort of vowed that I'm not going to leave. I travel some. I still go to Florida in the winters, but this is my home here, and I'm not likely to leave it anytime soon. But in order to live here, you needed to make more money than even in Gloucester, because it's expensive here. I went back to school, finished my degree, got a teaching certificate, and I taught at the high school for a short bit, Housatonic, and I taught at Kellogg School for 4 years, art teacher. While I was teaching at Kellogg School in Falls Village, I also taught at Cornwall Consolidated School, which was another small school. And then I gave up the 2 part-time teaching positions and went to Sharon Center School full-time, which in many respects was a really wise move, to work all in one building Monday through Friday. I mean, that was really good. But quite frankly, looking back on it, I probably shouldn't have left Kellogg School. That was the perfect school for me. You know, where you get to know all of your students' names and their brothers and sisters' names, their mom and dad. You get to know the names of their dogs and their, you know, it's Falls Village is a really, really special place. Now, how I got started with the giant puppets and the splendiferous stilt dancers was this natural progression. You know, drawing, photography, sculpture, things, you know, ceramics. It's kind of an art teacher's thing. You sort of dive into all of the different disciplines. And the lion, which I think I mentioned earlier, was the oldest and the first one. And it was really an art project based on sculpture. So a lot of people think that I come to this from theater or from dance or something, when in fact I get to this from sculpture. These are just animated sculptures, actually. And then the theatrical aspect of it is to develop a character that's believable, or not, maybe, you know, but you know, you develop these characters, and then you teach people how to perform them for you. What's interesting is that I would never know these people if it weren't for the fact that I do this stuff, and my life is just so full because I not only get these people to work with me or for me or whatever you want to call it, they become very close friends too. Good. And I love them all. It's exciting.
I like it. That's good. Thank you so much.
I'm very very fortunate.